All right, so now we'll talk about mindsets in the classroom and how having the right mindset for students is really important towards them achieving their goals in a competency-based education classroom. It's so important for students to push themselves at an appropriate pace in competency-based education, not to go too fast if they're really getting things quickly, to make sure they dive in and truly understand it. And then also if they're struggling with things, to know that it's okay to struggle and to seek help where they need it and try to continue to have confidence in completing their standards and working towards their goals. And we'll talk about that in this video. A growth mindset in a competency-based education classroom allows students to make mistakes and trust their own learning. They know that the mistakes that they make are going to help them learn and help their brain grow. It encourages students to push themselves to do more independently. They realize that they have the ability to create their own learning and do their own work, and they're not relying on the teacher to do the learning for them. They know how to access resources to do it themselves. It also forces students to look at their own learning growth and goals instead of their achievement compared to others. In my classroom, I have a chart that you'll see in another video that has all the standards for math, reading, and writing, and three different charts, math, reading, and writing, and has all the standards across the top and the names down the side. And as students complete a standard, they get to check it off or put a sticker or however they decide to do it, and the whole class is on one chart. So some people come into my classroom and they're like, oh my goodness, everybody can see everyone's progress, like this isn't okay. It's not anybody else's business how they're doing. But really the focus, if you create it this way, isn't on each individual, isn't on who has the most stickers or who's doing the best or who's completed the most standards. It's on what each kid needs. And if you set up a growth mindset, each kid knows that they're at a different level from someone else, and someone else might need more time with a certain standard than they do, or they might understand something more easily than others. Everybody has their own strengths and weaknesses, and that's why we work together well as a class, and we help each other and we rely on each other. And they focus on how they're doing and what they need instead of how other people are moving along. We're going to watch a snippet of this video where one of my students, Kate, talks about how she used her mindset in her classroom. She understands what type of learner she is, and she's able to use that to advance her learning.
I don't like to stay in one thing for a long time. Me. We're kind of in charge of our own learning. We don't have to pick, we can pick like whatever standard we want, but like in the different categories.
So Kate knows that she's a fast learner, and because of that, she knows that she needs to slow down at certain parts, and usually it's in the mastery cycle, which is a whole nother video that you can watch, to just slow down and understand things in a different way, apply it in a different way from what she did through just the standard, and maybe like more project-based learning. And then she also knows that she's in charge of her own learning, and it's up to her to move along. Obviously, some kids need the extra boost from the teacher, but she truly understands that if she continues doing the work and doing the learning and showing mastery, she can continue to move through the standards. And that's something she takes a lot of pride in. There's a lot of different resources available for building a mastery mindset. I'm going to show you a couple that I really used a lot this year. The first is Mindsets in the Classroom book by Mary Kay Ritchie, and she does a really great job of giving practical examples of how you can do different activities to build up your mindsets of your students in your classroom and develop more of a growth mindset in your classroom. There's also these websites for math. There's ucubed.org, which is Joe Bowler's website out of Stanford, where you can access different low threshold, high ceiling tasks to encourage resilience, and all the different 8 mathematical practices from NCTM. And they also have this cool program called Week of Inspirational Math. There's 3 different weeks, and I always like to do this at the beginning of the year, but they actually have videos where they talk to the kids about how your brain grows because of mistakes and how everybody goes at their own pace when they're learning, and that it's okay to take your time to do math slowly and really think about it. You don't have to rush through and know the answer right away. And then they have activities that go with it that the kids can do that are a lot of problem solving, and they really have a good time doing it, and they're also learning a lot about how to have a growth mindset. And then there's gregtangmath.com that has different resources for kids and different games. It's more of a game-based thing, but he has written a lot of different interesting math books like The Grapes of Math and The Best of Times. And his website is fun because it does have some challenging parts, but it's games, and the kids enjoy playing the game, so they're willing to go through the challenge. And if they can do it there, they know that they can apply it to other aspects of their learning. And then just in reading and writing workshop in general, depending on how you set it up, you can do a great job of creating a growth mindset through your workshop by encouraging kids to do more than they think they're capable of. Usually that's where the teacher comes in, and the biggest part is by just providing the resources and the teaching to show kids that they are able to do all these things that they didn't think they were capable of. And that's really the main part of the reading and writing workshop, either in your small groups or your one-on-one conferring, to meet with those kids and just show them that and model for them what a growth mindset would look like in reading and writing. And here are some important things to remember about mindset. It's really important to take time to instill a growth mindset in your students. I know at the beginning of the year, you're like, okay, I don't know how much longer I want to spend doing procedures and all of that stuff. But if you really take your time to make sure kids really understand it at the beginning of the year, it's so much easier to refer to it and continue to build on it throughout the rest of the year. And kids know that you're serious about it as well. And they learn to understand that it really is helpful. It's critical that students work independently in competency-based education, especially when you get to the point where students are working on all different standards. At one point this year, I had everybody except 3 students on different standards, and they know where to get the information and the resources to learn their standard. But I wasn't creating 23 different lessons each day. The students knew what they needed to do and how to push themselves because they had a growth mindset and they were ready to keep working. And then that gave me the time to meet with students who needed more intervention or enrichment or just clearing up confusion about different standards. It's important to instill growth mindsets in your highest students, even though that may be the most difficult. A lot of people think, oh, well, they're getting it, like they have a growth mindset, they're fine. But really, I noticed, especially this year in my class, the high students struggled a lot with challenges. If I gave them challenging work, they didn't know how to attack it. Whereas the struggling students who challenged doing almost every math concept, they already had the growth mindset because that was the only way that they were getting through school, was by pushing themselves and working and being challenged. So it's important to set up your higher students for opportunities where they can work on that. And then it's important that you model the growth mindset yourself and talk about your mistakes as a teacher. So kids see that it's okay to make mistakes and you are learning from your mistakes. And maybe point out students in the classroom who learned from their mistakes and moved on and became better because of it. And that also creates just a really understanding environment in your classroom. That's really important.